I went to pick up my medication at the pharmacy. Blood pressure pills I've taken for 15 years. Same prescription, same pharmacy, same routine. The pharmacist handed me the bag. I got home and opened it. The label looked slightly different. New format, maybe. I read it carefully. Patient name, Russell Henderson. That's me. Medication, Haloperidol. I'd never heard of it. I looked it up online. Haloperidol is an antipsychotic, used to treat schizophrenia, severe psychosis. I called the pharmacy, said there'd been a mistake. They'd given me the wrong medication. The pharmacist checked, said no, this was correct. This was what my doctor had prescribed, what I'd been taking for 15 years. I said I take blood pressure medication. She said, no, sir, you take Haloperidol for your condition. I've filled this prescription monthly for 15 years. You have schizophrenia. You were diagnosed in 2009. I hung up, called my doctor. He confirmed it, said I'd been his patient since my diagnosis, said we'd been managing my condition together, said I was doing well on the medication, but I didn't remember any of this. Didn't remember being diagnosed, didn't remember having schizophrenia, didn't remember the last 15 years being anything other than normal. My name is Russell Henderson. I'm 68 years old. I live in a small apartment in Toledo, Ohio. I've been retired for 3 years, spent 40 years as a postal worker, married to my wife Diane for 45 years. We have 2 daughters, Linda, who's 42, and Carol, who's 39. I live what I've always thought was a completely ordinary life. Normal, unremarkable. The life of a regular working-class man who did his job, raised his family, and retired to enjoy his remaining years. That's who I thought I was, until I picked up my prescription last Tuesday. I've been going to the same pharmacy for years, Morrison's Pharmacy on Elm Street. Small local place, not a chain. Old Mr. Morrison ran it until he died 5 years ago. Now his daughter Ellen runs it. I've known Ellen since she was a kid. Watched her grow up, watched her take over the family business. She knows me, knows my prescriptions, knows I come in monthly for my blood pressure medication. That Tuesday was like any other day. I walked to the pharmacy. It's only 4 blocks from my apartment. Good exercise. Ellen was behind the counter. She smiled when she saw me. Said, hello, Mr. Henderson. Your prescription's ready. Handed me the white paper bag. I paid. She asked how Diane was doing. I said she was fine. Normal small talk. Normal transaction. Everything normal. I walked home. Put the bag on my kitchen counter. Made some lunch. Ate. Then I opened the bag to put the medication in my pill organizer. That's when I noticed something was different. The label on the bottle wasn't the usual format. It looked newer, cleaner, different font maybe. I read it carefully to make sure it was the right medication. Patient name, Russell Henderson. That was correct. Prescribing doctor, Dr. Michael Chen. That was correct. He'd been my doctor for about 15 years. But then I read the medication name, Haloperidol 5 mg. Take 1 tablet daily. Haloperidol? I'd never heard of it. That wasn't my blood pressure medication. My blood pressure medication was called Lisinopril. I'd been taking it for 15 years. I knew the name, knew what the pills looked like. Small white tablets. These pills in the bottle were different. Larger, yellow, definitely not what I usually took. I thought Ellen had made a mistake, had given me someone else's prescription. It happened sometimes. Bottles got mixed up. Someone with a similar name got my medication and I got theirs. Simple error, easy to fix. I called the pharmacy. Ellen answered. I explained the situation, said I'd been given the wrong medication. She asked me to read the label. I did. She said, hold on, let me check the system. I heard typing. Then she came back on the line, said, Mr. Henderson, that's the correct prescription. That's what Dr. Chen prescribed for you, what you've been taking for 15 years. I said, no, that's wrong. I take blood pressure medication, Lisinopril, for hypertension. Ellen said, no, sir. According to our records, you've been taking Haloperidol since 2009. We've filled this prescription every month for 15 years. Let me pull up your file. More typing. Then she said, yes, here it is. Haloperidol 5 mg, prescribed by Dr. Chen. First filled in March 2009. Refilled monthly since then. That's your medication. I told her she must be looking at the wrong file. Must have me confused with another patient. She said, Mr. Henderson, I've been filling this prescription for you myself for the past 5 years. Since I took over the pharmacy, I know this is your medication. I see you every month. You pick up Haloperidol. That's what you take. I asked what Haloperidol was for, what condition it treated. Ellen hesitated, then said it's an antipsychotic medication, used primarily for schizophrenia and other psychotic disorders. I felt cold. Antipsychotic? Schizophrenia? That was impossible. I didn't have schizophrenia. I'd never had any mental illness. I'd never been diagnosed with anything except high blood pressure. I told Ellen there was a mistake. A big mistake. I wasn't taking antipsychotic medication. I'd never been prescribed antipsychotic medication. I had high blood pressure, not schizophrenia. Ellen said, "Mr. Henderson, maybe you should call Dr. Chen. Talk to him about this. There might be some confusion." I said, "Yes, there's definitely confusion." I hung up. I immediately called Dr. Chen's office, got his receptionist, explained the situation, said the pharmacy had given me the wrong medication, said I needed to speak with Dr. Chen right away. The receptionist put me on hold, came back a few minutes later, said Dr. Chen could see me tomorrow morning. Emergency appointment, 10 o'clock. Could I come in? I said yes. Hung up, sat at my kitchen table, staring at the bottle of Haloperidol, trying to understand, trying to make sense of what was happening. I looked up Haloperidol online, found dozens of medical websites explaining it. Haloperidol is an antipsychotic medication, first-generation antipsychotic, used primarily to treat schizophrenia, also used for severe behavioral problems, Tourette's syndrome, acute psychosis. It works by blocking dopamine receptors in the brain, helps reduce hallucinations, delusions, disorganized thinking. Side effects included drowsiness, dizziness, weight gain, tremors, muscle stiffness. Long-term use could cause tardive dyskinesia, a movement disorder. Serious medication, not something prescribed casually, only used for significant psychiatric conditions. I didn't have any of those conditions. I'd never hallucinated, never had delusions, never experienced psychosis. My thinking was clear, organized, normal. I was completely sane, had been my whole life. But according to the pharmacy, I'd been taking this medication for 15 years, since 2009. 15 years of antipsychotic medication for a condition I didn't have. It made no sense. I thought about calling Diane. She was visiting our daughter Linda in Cleveland, had been there for a week, helping with the grandkids while Linda's husband was away on business. But I didn't want to worry her, didn't want to explain this confusing situation over the phone. I'd wait until I talked to Dr. Chen tomorrow, get this straightened out, then tell Diane about the pharmacy's mistake. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the medication bottle, about Ellen's insistence that I'd been taking this medication for 15 years, about the prescription records showing Haloperidol, not lisinopril, about the antipsychotic medication I supposedly took daily but had no memory of taking. I got up and went through my medicine cabinet, looking for evidence, looking for other bottles, looking for anything that would explain this. I found my old pill bottles. Recycling bin in the bathroom had several. I pulled them out, read the labels. They all said Haloperidol, every single one. Bottles dating back months, all prescribed by Dr. Chen, all filled at Morrison's pharmacy, all clearly labeled as Haloperidol 5 mg. Take 1 tablet daily. But I remembered taking lisinopril, remembered the name, remembered what the pills looked like. Small white tablets in a blue and white bottle. I remembered taking them every morning with breakfast, remembered refilling the prescription monthly, remembered everything about my blood pressure medication, except apparently it wasn't blood pressure medication. It was antipsychotic medication. For a condition I didn't remember having, I went through my medical records, files I kept in a drawer in my desk, doctor's visit summaries, test results, insurance statements, looking for evidence of what was real, what medication I actually took, what conditions I actually had. The records confirmed what the pharmacy said. Every doctor's visit summary mentioned my schizophrenia. Every medication list included Haloperidol. Every insurance statement showed claims for psychiatric care. All of it consistent. All of it documented. All of it showing I'd been diagnosed with schizophrenia in 2009 and had been receiving treatment ever since. But I had no memory of any of this. No memory of being diagnosed, no memory of psychiatric appointments, no memory of taking antipsychotic medication. My memory was completely different. I remembered being diagnosed with high blood pressure in 2009, remembered Dr. Chen prescribing lisinopril, remembered taking blood pressure medication ever since, remembered regular checkups to monitor my hypertension. Two completely different versions of reality, both seemingly well documented, both with evidence supporting them. But they couldn't both be true. I barely slept that night, tossed and turned, worried about what Dr. Chen would tell me tomorrow, worried about what was happening to me, worried about my sanity. At 10 the next morning, I was in Dr. Chen's waiting room. He came out personally to get me. walked me back to his office instead of an exam room. That was unusual. He sat behind his desk, gestured for me to sit across from him. He looked serious, concerned. He said, "Russell, I understand there was some confusion about your medication yesterday." I nodded. Said, "Yes, the pharmacy gave me Haloperidol instead of my blood pressure medication." Dr. Chen shook his head slowly. Said, "Russell, Haloperidol is your medication. Has been for 15 years, since I diagnosed you with schizophrenia in 2009. I said, "That's impossible. I don't have schizophrenia. I've never had schizophrenia. I take blood pressure medication for hypertension." Dr. Chen pulled up my file on his computer, turned the monitor so I could see, said, "Let me show you your medical history. Let me show you what's real." He scrolled through my records, pointed to entries. March 2009. Patient presents with auditory hallucinations and paranoid delusions, diagnosed with schizophrenia. Started on Haloperidol 5 mg or growlers daily. April 2009. Patient responding well to medication. Hallucinations decreased. May 2009. Patient stable on current medication. Continue Haloperidol entry after entry, month after month, year after year, all documenting my schizophrenia, my treatment, my response to medication. 15 years of psychiatric care documented in detail. Dr. Chen said, "Russell, you have schizophrenia. We've been managing it together for 15 years. The Haloperidol controls your symptoms. You've been doing very well, living a normal life, working, spending time with family, all because the medication keeps your condition under control." I said I don't remember any of this. Don't remember being diagnosed. Don't remember psychiatric appointments. Don't remember taking antipsychotic medication. All I remember is being diagnosed with high blood pressure and taking lisinopril. Dr. Chen nodded, said, "That's one of your symptoms. Memory distortion. You remember things differently from how they actually happened. The schizophrenia affects your perception, affects your memory formation. The medication helps, but sometimes you still have difficulty distinguishing between what's real and what you believe happened." He said, "You've always had this particular pattern. You remember having high blood pressure. Remember taking lisinopril. That's your preferred narrative, the way your brain makes sense of needing daily medication. It's less stigmatizing than remembering you have schizophrenia. So your mind constructed this alternate explanation. It's been a consistent feature of your condition." I sat there trying to process this, trying to understand. Was Dr. Chen right? Did I have schizophrenia? Had I been taking antipsychotic medication for 15 years? Had I constructed false memories about blood pressure medication to avoid accepting my mental illness? Or was Dr. Chen wrong? Was there some terrible mistake? Was I actually sane and being told I was mentally ill? How could I tell? How could I know what was real? Dr. Chen said, "I know this is difficult. I know it's frightening to question your own memory, to question your own perception of reality. But Russell, this is why you take the medication. This is why we've been managing your condition carefully. You have schizophrenia, it's controlled, you're doing well, but you need to continue taking your medication. Need to trust that the treatment is necessary." I asked about my wife, about Diane. Did she know? Dr. Chen said, "Of course. Diane has been part of your care from the beginning. She helps make sure you take your medication. She attends appointments with you. She's been very supportive, very involved in managing your condition." That didn't make sense. If Diane knew I had schizophrenia, why had she never mentioned it? Why had we never discussed it? In all our conversations over the past 15 years, she'd never once said anything about me having a mental illness, never mentioned schizophrenia, never talked about antipsychotic medication. Dr. Chen said Diane is careful not to highlight your condition. She treats you normally, doesn't emphasize your illness. That's part of the strategy. The more normal your life feels, the better you do. The less we focus on the schizophrenia label, the more stable you remain. So Diane just makes sure you take your medication, makes sure you see me regularly, but otherwise treats you like you're completely healthy. I asked to speak to Diane. To verify this, Dr. Chen said, "Of course." He handed me his phone. Said, "Call her now. Ask her yourself." I dialed Diane's number. She was still at Linda's house in Cleveland. She answered cheerfully. Said, "Hi, honey, how are you? Is everything okay?" I said. "Diane, I need to ask you something important. About my health, about medication." She went quiet, then said, "What about it?" Her voice changed. Became careful. I said, "Do I have schizophrenia? Do I take antipsychotic medication?" There was a long pause. Then Diane said, "Yes, honey, you do. You have for 15 years, since 2009. We've been managing it together. You're doing great. The medication works really well. I said, why have you never mentioned it? Why have we never talked about this? Diane said, we have talked about it. Many times, especially in the early years. But you don't remember those conversations. You remember things differently. So we learned it's better not to emphasize it. Better to just make sure you take your medication and see Dr. Chen regularly. Better to let you live normally without constantly reminding you about your diagnosis. I felt like the ground was falling away. Diane confirmed it. Dr. Chen was telling the truth. I had schizophrenia. I'd been taking antipsychotic medication for 15 years, and I had no memory of any of it. Diane said, Russell, are you okay? What's going on? Do you need me to come home? I said the pharmacy gave me Haloperidol instead of my blood pressure medication. I got confused. Diane said, oh, honey, that is your medication. You take Haloperidol every day. You have for years. There is no blood pressure medication. That's just how you remember it sometimes. She said, do you want me to come home? Do you need me there? I said, no, I'll be okay. I'm with Dr. Chen right now. He's explaining things. Diane said, good. Listen to him. Trust him. He's been helping you for 15 years. He knows what's best. Take your medication. Stay calm. I'll be home in a few days and we'll talk about everything. I hung up, handed the phone back to Dr. Chen. He looked at me with sympathy. Said, I know this is overwhelming. I know it's frightening to realize your memory isn't reliable. But Russell, you're okay. You're on good medication. You have a supportive family. You're managing your condition well. This moment of confusion will pass. Just keep taking your medication. Keep coming to see me. Keep trusting the people who care about you. I left Dr. Chen's office in a daze, walked home slowly, trying to understand, trying to accept. I had schizophrenia. That was the reality. Everyone agreed. Dr. Chen, Diane, the pharmacy records, my medical files, all the evidence pointed to the same conclusion. I was mentally ill, had been for 15 years. The life I remembered was partially false. My memories couldn't be trusted. At home, I sat with the bottle of Haloperidol, stared at it. This little bottle contained pills that kept me sane, that kept me functional, that let me live a normal life despite having schizophrenia. I'd been taking these pills for 15 years, every single day, but remembering them as blood pressure medication, remembering a completely different medical history. I took one of the yellow pills, swallowed it with water. If this was my reality, I needed to accept it, needed to trust the doctors and my wife, needed to take my medication like I'd been doing for 15 years, even though I didn't remember doing it. But something nagged at me. Something felt wrong. Not just the confusion about my medication, something deeper. I couldn't put my finger on it. Just a feeling that something about this situation didn't add up. I spent the rest of the day going through everything. My medical records, my prescription history, my calendar, looking for clues, looking for evidence that would help me understand what was real. My calendar showed regular appointments with Dr. Chen, monthly appointments for the past 15 years, all documented, all real. I checked my old calendars too, found them in a box in my closet. Every month, an appointment with Dr. Chen. Consistent, ongoing, evidence of 15 years of psychiatric care. I found old pharmacy receipts, stapled in envelopes with tax documents, receipts for Haloperidol, month after month, year after year, all the way back to 2009, all showing I'd been buying antipsychotic medication regularly, all consistent with what everyone was telling me. I found insurance statements, claims for psychiatric care, payments to Dr. Chen for ongoing mental health treatment, payments to Morrison's pharmacy for Haloperidol, all documented, all official, all proving I had schizophrenia and had been receiving treatment. The evidence was overwhelming, undeniable. I had schizophrenia. Everyone knew. Everyone had been helping me manage it, and I'd been living with false memories, remembering a different medical history, remembering different medication, creating an alternate narrative that was easier to accept than the truth of mental illness. But still, something bothered me, something I couldn't identify, a feeling that despite all the evidence, something was wrong. That evening, my daughter Linda called, said Mom told her what happened, said she wanted to check on me. I asked Linda directly, did she know I had schizophrenia? Linda said, yes, Dad. We've known since you were diagnosed. You've been so good about taking your medication, about managing your condition. We're all proud of how well you've done. I asked why she'd never mentioned it. Linda said we talked about it in the early years, but you'd get upset. would insist you didn't have schizophrenia, would refuse to believe it. Dr. Chen said it was better not to argue, better to just support you, make sure you took your medication, let you live normally. So that's what we've done. We've been there for you without constantly reminding you about your diagnosis. Linda said, "Dad, you're doing great. The medication works. You have a good life. Don't let this moment of confusion upset you. Just keep taking your pills. Keep seeing Dr. Chen. Keep being the dad we love." I thanked her, hung up. Everyone had the same story, same explanation, same reassurance, all consistent, all supportive, all telling me I had schizophrenia and had been successfully managing it for 15 years. So why did I still feel like something was wrong? Over the next few days, I tried to accept my diagnosis, tried to integrate this new understanding of myself. I had schizophrenia. My memories weren't reliable. I needed medication to function normally. That was my reality. I took the Haloperidol every morning, tried to notice what it did, how it made me feel. But I felt the same as I always had. Normal, clear-headed. No different than I'd felt when I thought I was taking blood pressure medication. Diane came home from Cleveland. She hugged me, asked how I was doing. I said I was okay. Still processing, still trying to understand. She said she knew it was hard, that finding out your memory wasn't reliable was frightening, but that I was doing fine, that the medication was working, that I should trust the doctors and trust her. We talked about my diagnosis, about when it had happened. Diane told me the story, said in early 2009, I'd started acting strange, had been hearing voices, had been paranoid, thought people were watching me, thought there were conspiracies. She'd been frightened, had convinced me to see Dr. Chen. He'd diagnosed schizophrenia, started me on medication. Within weeks, the symptoms improved, the voices stopped, the paranoia faded, I became myself again. Diane said I'd been stable ever since. For 15 years, living normally, working, spending time with family, all because the medication controlled my symptoms. She said she was grateful for Dr. Chen, grateful for modern medicine, grateful I was willing to take my medication even though I didn't always remember why I needed it. I listened to Diane's story, tried to remember any of it, tried to recall hearing voices or feeling paranoid, but I had no memory of that time. No memory of symptoms, no memory of diagnosis, no memory of starting medication, just blank space where those memories should be. Diane said that was normal, that the early period of illness was often forgotten, that the brain sometimes blocked out traumatic memories, that what mattered was I was well now, stable, healthy, living a good life. But I kept thinking about something. If I'd had obvious symptoms in 2009, hearing voices, paranoia, strange behavior, wouldn't I remember that? Wouldn't such dramatic symptoms leave some impression? Even if I forgot the diagnosis and treatment, wouldn't I remember feeling different, acting different, being frightened by voices or paranoid thoughts? I remembered 2009. I remembered it clearly. I'd been working at the post office, same routine I'd had for decades, coming home to Diane, spending time with our daughters, helping Linda with her first baby, visiting Carol at college, normal family life, normal work life, nothing unusual, nothing frightening, nothing that suggested mental illness. But according to everyone, that year I'd developed schizophrenia, had been diagnosed, had started antipsychotic medication, had been transformed from psychotic to stable, all within a few weeks. And I remembered none of it. Remembered only normal, healthy, ordinary life. That seemed impossible. How could I have no memory of such a significant event? How could I remember everything else from that year but not the onset of mental illness, not the diagnosis, not the dramatic change in my life? I started to wonder if maybe there was a mistake, not the mistake I'd originally thought, that the pharmacy had given me wrong medication, but a different mistake. Maybe I didn't actually have schizophrenia. Maybe I'd been misdiagnosed. Maybe I'd been taking unnecessary medication for 15 years. Maybe everyone was wrong. But how could everyone be wrong? Dr. Chen was a respected psychiatrist. He wouldn't misdiagnose someone and continue treatment for 15 years. Diane was my wife of 45 years. She knew me better than anyone. She wouldn't go along with false treatment. My daughters wouldn't support unnecessary medication unless they all believed I had schizophrenia, unless they'd all been convinced by Dr. Chen's diagnosis, unless they were all operating on false information, unless the original diagnosis had been wrong and everyone had simply accepted it without question. I decided to do something I probably shouldn't have done. I decided to stop taking the Haloperidol, just for a few days, just to see what happened. If I really had schizophrenia, stopping the medication would cause symptoms to return. Voices, paranoia, psychotic thinking. I'd know for sure then that the diagnosis was real. But if I didn't have schizophrenia, if this was all a mistake, nothing would happen. I'd feel fine. I'd stay normal. And I'd have proof that I didn't need the medication. That I'd been taking it unnecessarily for 15 years. It was risky. If I really did have schizophrenia, stopping medication could be dangerous, could cause a relapse, could make me psychotic, but I had to know, had to understand what was real. So that night, I didn't take my Haloperidol, put it in the bottle instead of swallowing it, went to bed, waited to see what would happen. The next morning, I felt fine, normal, clear-headed, no different than any other morning. I took my morning medication, actually just putting the pill in my pocket instead of swallowing it. Went about my day, felt completely normal. Day 2 without medication, still fine. No symptoms, no voices, no paranoia, no psychotic thinking. Just normal Russell living his normal life. Day 3, day 4, day 5. A whole week without haloperidol. And I felt perfectly fine. Better even. More alert, more energetic. Like maybe the medication had been dulling me slightly. Now I felt sharper, more present. After 2 weeks without medication, I was certain I didn't have schizophrenia. Never had. The diagnosis was wrong. I'd been taking unnecessary antipsychotic medication for 15 years for a condition I didn't have, because of a misdiagnosis that everyone had accepted without question. But why? Why would Dr. Chen misdiagnose me? Why would he keep me on medication I didn't need? Why would Diane go along with it? Why would my daughter support false treatment? I decided to investigate. Started with Dr. Chen's background, looked him up online, found his medical license information. His credentials seemed legitimate. Medical degree from Ohio State, residency in psychiatry, licensed since 1995, practice established in 2000. Everything looked normal, but then I found something interesting. Complaints filed against Dr. Chen with the state medical board. 3 complaints in the past 20 years, all from patients claiming he'd misdiagnosed them, all claiming he'd prescribed unnecessary medication. 2 had been dismissed. 1 was still under investigation. I read the details of the complaints. 1 patient claimed Dr. Chen had diagnosed him with bipolar disorder and prescribed mood stabilizers. The patient insisted he didn't have bipolar disorder. Eventually got a second opinion from another psychiatrist who said the original diagnosis was wrong. The patient had stopped seeing Dr. Chen, filed a complaint. The medical board had investigated but found insufficient evidence of wrongdoing. Another patient had a similar story, diagnosed with depression, prescribed antidepressants, later got a second opinion. New doctor said the diagnosis was questionable. Patient stopped treatment, filed a complaint. Again, medical board found insufficient evidence. The pattern was concerning. Multiple patients claiming misdiagnosis. Multiple patients insisting they didn't need the medication Dr. Chen prescribed. Multiple complaints, even though none had resulted in disciplinary action. What if I was another victim? What if Dr. Chen had misdiagnosed me too? What if he'd convinced me and my family that I had schizophrenia when I actually didn't? What if I'd been taking unnecessary medication for 15 years because of his mistake, or his incompetence, or something worse? I decided I needed a second opinion, needed another psychiatrist to evaluate me, someone independent, someone who didn't already believe I had schizophrenia, someone who could give me an objective assessment. I found a psychiatrist across town, Dr. Jennifer Martinez. Good reviews, no complaints against her license. I called her office, made an appointment, said I needed an evaluation, didn't mention my history with Dr. Chen, didn't mention the schizophrenia diagnosis, just said I wanted a psychiatric evaluation. The appointment was scheduled for 2 weeks later. In the meantime, I continued not taking haloperidol, continued feeling completely normal, continued documenting that I had no symptoms, no voices, no paranoia, no psychotic thinking, nothing that suggested mental illness. Diane noticed I seemed different, more energetic, more engaged. She commented on it, said I seemed really good lately, really present. I agreed, said I was feeling great, didn't mention I'd stopped taking my medication, didn't mention my suspicions about the diagnosis, just acted normal, let her think the haloperidol was working well. The appointment with Dr. Martinez finally arrived. I went to her office, filled out intake forms, sat in the waiting room trying to stay calm. This evaluation would tell me the truth, would tell me if I really had schizophrenia or if the past 15 years had been based on a lie. Dr. Martinez called me in. She was younger than Dr. Chen, maybe 50, professional, kind eyes. She asked why I was seeking evaluation. I told her I wanted to understand my mental health, that I'd been told I had schizophrenia, but wasn't sure the diagnosis was accurate, that I wanted an independent opinion. Dr. Martinez asked about my history, about when I'd been diagnosed, what symptoms I'd had, what treatment I'd received. I told her everything, about the 2009 diagnosis, about taking haloperidol for 15 years, about having no memory of being symptomatic, about stopping the medication 3 weeks ago and feeling fine. Dr. Martinez looked concerned. She said, "Mr. Henderson, if you really have schizophrenia, stopping medication abruptly is very dangerous, could cause severe relapse, could trigger psychotic episode. Why would you stop without medical supervision?" I said, "Because I don't think I have schizophrenia. Don't think I ever did. Think I was misdiagnosed 15 years ago and have been taking unnecessary medication ever since." Dr. Martinez said, "Let's do a comprehensive evaluation. Let's assess your current mental status. Look at your history. Review your records from Dr. Chen if you'll authorize that. Let's figure out what's really going on." We spent 2 hours together. Dr. Martinez asked hundreds of questions about my thoughts, my perceptions, my mood, my behavior, my history. She did cognitive tests, memory tests, reality testing, checked for signs of psychosis, signs of thought disorder, signs of any mental illness. At the end, Dr. Martinez sat back, said, "Mr. Henderson, I don't see any evidence of schizophrenia. Your thought processes are clear. Your perceptions are normal. You have no hallucinations, no delusions, no disorganized thinking. You're cognitively intact, emotionally stable, functioning well. Based on this evaluation, I see no signs of active psychotic illness." I felt vindicated, relieved. I'd been right. I didn't have schizophrenia, never had. The diagnosis had been wrong, but Dr. Martinez continued. She said, however, "That doesn't mean you weren't accurately diagnosed 15 years ago. Schizophrenia can go into remission, especially with good medication management. It's possible you had symptoms in 2009, were correctly diagnosed, started medication, and have been symptom-free ever since because the haloperidol worked. Now that you've stopped medication, you're still symptom-free, but that could change. Symptoms could return. You might have been in medication-induced remission." She said, "I'd like to review your records from Dr. Chen, see what symptoms you had in 2009, see what led to the diagnosis. That will help me understand whether the original diagnosis was accurate or if there might have been a mistake." I authorized release of my records. Dr. Martinez said she'd request them, would review them carefully, would get back to me with her assessment. In the meantime, she said I should probably restart the haloperidol, just to be safe, just in case I really did have schizophrenia, and stopping medication was risky. I said I'd think about it. Thanked her. Left feeling confused again. Maybe I did have schizophrenia. Maybe the medication had worked so well that I'd been symptom-free for 15 years. Maybe stopping it was dangerous. Maybe I should restart it. But I'd been off medication for 3 weeks now. 3 weeks without any symptoms. Wouldn't symptoms have returned by now if I really had schizophrenia? Wouldn't I be hearing voices or feeling paranoid or having psychotic thoughts? The fact that I was still completely normal suggested I didn't have the condition, suggested the diagnosis had been wrong from the start. A week later, Dr. Martinez called, said she'd received my records from Dr. Chen, asked if I could come in to discuss them. I made an appointment for the next day. At Dr. Martinez's office, she had Dr. Chen's files spread on her desk. She looked troubled, said, "Mr. Henderson, I've reviewed your records carefully, and I have to say, I'm concerned about the original diagnosis," she said, according to Dr. Chen's notes. "In 2009, you presented with auditory hallucinations and paranoid delusions. He diagnosed schizophrenia based on those symptoms, started you on haloperidol, documented that symptoms improved rapidly. But Dr. Martinez said she didn't see evidence of comprehensive diagnostic evaluation. No detailed psychiatric history, no family history of mental illness, no substance use assessment, no ruling out of other conditions that could cause similar symptoms, just a quick diagnosis based on reported symptoms and immediate medication." She said furthermore, Dr. Chen's notes don't include much detail about what your symptoms actually were, what voices you heard, what delusions you had, how they presented, how they impacted your functioning. Just vague references to auditory hallucinations and paranoid ideation, not the kind of detailed documentation you'd expect for a schizophrenia diagnosis. Dr. Martinez said she was also concerned about the treatment approach. She said typically when someone is diagnosed with schizophrenia, especially a first episode, there's intensive follow-up, weekly appointments initially, careful monitoring of symptoms, dose adjustments, possibly therapy in addition to medication, assessment of social and occupational functioning, family education about the illness. But Dr. Chen's notes showed none of that, just monthly appointments, brief notes saying, patient stable, continue current medication. No detailed symptom monitoring, no assessment of functioning, no family involvement documented. Just routine prescription refills month after month for 15 years. Dr. Martinez said this pattern concerns me. It doesn't look like the careful management of schizophrenia. It looks more like routine prescription management. Like Dr. Chen diagnosed you once and then never really reassessed, never questioned whether the original diagnosis was accurate, just kept prescribing the same medication because that's what he'd always prescribed. She said, I'd like to do something. I'd like to keep monitoring you while you're off medication, see if any symptoms emerge. If you stay symptom-free for another month, 2 months, 3 months, that would strongly suggest you don't have schizophrenia, that the diagnosis was incorrect, that you've been taking unnecessary medication. I agreed. Dr. Martinez scheduled weekly appointments, said we'd do careful monitoring, document my mental status, watch for any signs of emerging symptoms, give it time to see what happened. Over the next month, I saw Dr. Martinez weekly. Each time she did comprehensive mental status evaluation. Each time I was completely normal. No symptoms, no voices, no paranoia, no psychotic thinking, just normal, healthy, mentally stable Russell Henderson. After 6 weeks off haloperidol, Dr. Martinez said, I think we have our answer. If you had schizophrenia, symptoms would have returned by now. The fact that you've been completely stable for 6 weeks without medication strongly suggests you don't have the condition, suggests you never did, suggests Dr. Chen's original diagnosis was wrong. I asked what that meant, what I should do. Dr. Martinez said you should definitely not go back on haloperidol. You don't need it. You never needed it. You've been taking unnecessary antipsychotic medication for 15 years because of a misdiagnosis. She said I'm going to write a letter documenting my findings, documenting that you don't meet criteria for schizophrenia, that you've been stable off medication, that continuing haloperidol is not medically necessary. You can use this letter if you need to explain to your family why you're not taking the medication anymore. I thanked Dr. Martinez, asked what I should do about Dr. Chen, whether I should report him, whether other patients might be in the same situation. She said, that's up to you. You could file a complaint with the medical board. You could consider legal action if you wanted. But she said, be prepared for it to be difficult. Dr. Chen will have his records, will defend his diagnosis, will say you had symptoms at the time. Hard to prove otherwise, 15 years later. I went home with Dr. Martinez's letter, sat at my kitchen table reading it over and over. Official documentation that I didn't have schizophrenia, that I'd been misdiagnosed, that 15 years of medication had been unnecessary, that Dr. Chen had been wrong. I needed to tell Diane, needed to explain, needed her to understand that I'd been right to question the diagnosis, that I wasn't crazy for stopping medication, that I'd actually been sane all along. When Diane got home from her book club, I showed her Dr. Martinez's letter, explained what had happened, that I'd gotten a second opinion, that I'd been off medication for 6 weeks, that I had no symptoms, that Dr. Martinez confirmed I didn't have schizophrenia. Diane read the letter carefully, then looked at me. She didn't seem surprised, didn't seem relieved, didn't seem happy. She just looked sad. She said, Russell, we need to talk. There's something I need to tell you, something I should have told you 15 years ago. She sat down, took my hand, said, you don't have schizophrenia. You never did. I know that. I've always known that. I was confused. Said, what do you mean you've always known? You told me I had schizophrenia. You confirmed Dr. Chen's diagnosis. You said you'd been helping me manage my condition. Diane said I lied. I'm sorry? I've been lying to you for 15 years, but I thought I was protecting you. Thought I was doing the right thing. Now I see I was wrong. She said in 2009, something happened. Something terrible. You witnessed something. Something traumatic. It affected you deeply. You couldn't sleep. Were having nightmares. Were anxious all the time. You weren't yourself. Diane said I was scared. Didn't know how to help you. I convinced you to see Dr. Chen. Told him what was happening. He said you needed medication. Said you needed something to help you cope. But he said if he told you it was for anxiety or trauma, you might not take it. You'd been resistant to the idea of therapy or psychiatric medication, had always been proud of being mentally strong, of handling things on your own. She said Dr. Chen suggested we tell you something different, tell you that you had a physical condition that required medication, something medical that wouldn't carry stigma, something you'd accept. So we told you that you had high blood pressure, that you needed to take lisinopril, that it was important for your health. Diane said, but actually, you were taking Haloperidol, an antipsychotic that also helps with severe anxiety and trauma symptoms. Dr. Chen prescribed it. I filled it at the pharmacy, brought it home and told you it was blood pressure medication. You took it. It helped. Your anxiety decreased. Your sleep improved. You started functioning normally again. She said we never meant for it to go on so long. Dr. Chen said it would be temporary, a few months maybe, just until you processed the trauma, until you were stable enough to taper off. But then you seemed to be doing so well on the medication, so stable, so functional. Dr. Chen said maybe you should stay on it longer, just to be safe. And then months turned into years, and the lie just continued. I sat there stunned, trying to process what Diane was telling me. She'd been lying to me for 15 years, about my diagnosis, about my medication, about everything. Dr. Chen had been part of the lie. The pharmacy had been part of the lie. Everyone had been lying to me about why I was taking medication. I asked what trauma, what had I witnessed, what happened in 2009 that required medication? Diane looked uncomfortable, said that's the other thing. You don't remember it, the trauma, the event. It's blocked out. Your mind protected you by forgetting. Dr. Chen said it was dissociative amnesia, your brain's way of coping with something unbearable. She said if I tell you what happened, it might trigger the memories, might bring back the trauma, might undo the protection your mind created. Dr. Chen said it was better to let you not remember, better to let you live without that burden. That's another reason we kept the lie going. We thought we were protecting you from painful memories. I said I need to know, need to understand what happened, why I needed medication, what I'm forgetting. Diane hesitated, then said, are you sure? Once I tell you, you can't unknow it, can't go back to not remembering. I said I'm sure. I need the truth, all of it. Diane took a deep breath, said, okay, in 2009, you witnessed a death. Someone died right in front of you, at the post office where you worked, a co-worker. His name was Marcus. He had a heart attack during his shift, collapsed. You were there. You tried to help him, did CPR, waited for the ambulance, but he died, right there, while you were trying to save him. Diane said you came home that day completely traumatized, shaking, couldn't stop thinking about it, couldn't stop seeing Marcus's face, couldn't stop feeling like you should have done more, should have saved him. You developed severe anxiety, PTSD symptoms, nightmares, flashbacks. You couldn't work, couldn't function, couldn't handle being at the post office where it happened. She said that's when we went to Dr. Chen. He said you needed medication, needed something to help you cope while you processed the trauma. But he also said you were in denial, refusing to talk about what happened, refusing to acknowledge the trauma. You kept insisting you were fine, that Marcus's death hadn't affected you, that you didn't need help. Diane said Dr. Chen said sometimes with trauma, patients can't accept they need help, can't admit they're struggling. So he suggested we use a different approach, tell you that you had a physical health issue, something that wasn't psychological, something you'd accept. That's how we ended up telling you about blood pressure, about lisinopril, when really it was haloperidol for trauma-related symptoms. I sat there trying to remember Marcus, trying to remember this death I'd witnessed, but there was nothing. No memory of Marcus, no memory of a heart attack at work, no memory of performing CPR, no memory of trauma, just blank space where those memories should be. I asked Diane if anyone else knew about this, about the lie. She said Dr. Chen, obviously, Ellen at the pharmacy. She'd been in on it from the beginning. Filled the haloperidol but labeled it as lisinopril on the bottles. Your daughters knew too. We told them a few years in. Thought they should know in case something happened to me. In case they needed to make sure you kept taking your medication. So everyone had been lying to me. My wife, my doctor, my pharmacist, my daughters, all conspiring to keep me medicated for a condition they'd never told me about. For trauma, I didn't remember. Using a fake diagnosis to justify medication they thought I needed. I asked Diane about this year, about the pharmacy giving me haloperidol with the real label. Why had that happened? She said Ellen retired 6 months ago, sold the pharmacy to a chain. The new pharmacists didn't know about our arrangement, didn't know they were supposed to label your medication as lisinopril. They just filled it normally, put haloperidol on the label like they would for any patient. That's why you discovered the truth. Diane said when you called, confused about the medication, I panicked. Called Dr. Chen. We decided to tell you that you had schizophrenia. Thought that would explain the haloperidol. Thought you'd accept that explanation. Thought you'd keep taking the medication. We never expected you'd stop taking it. Never expected you'd get a second opinion. Never expected you'd figure out we were lying. She said, Russell, I'm sorry. We were trying to help. Trying to protect you. From trauma you couldn't handle. From memories that were destroying you. We thought we were doing the right thing. But I see now we were wrong. We shouldn't have lied. Shouldn't have kept lying for 15 years. We should have been honest. Should have trusted you to handle the truth. I asked if I still needed the medication. If the trauma was still affecting me. Diane said honestly, I don't know. Dr. Chen thought you needed it long term. Thought you might always need something to manage the PTSD. But Dr. Martinez doesn't think so. You've been fine without it for 6 weeks. Maybe you don't need it anymore. Maybe you healed years ago, but we just kept you on medication out of caution. I sat with all this information, trying to process, trying to understand. I didn't have schizophrenia. That had been a lie. But I also didn't have high blood pressure. That had been a lie, too. What I had was PTSD from witnessing a death, trauma from trying to save a coworker who died. That's why I'd needed medication. That's why I'd been taking haloperidol for 15 years, but I still didn't remember the trauma. Still had no memory of Marcus. No memory of his death. No memory of the event that supposedly destroyed me. My mind had blocked it out, protected me from memories I couldn't handle. And now, 15 years later, those memories were still gone. Still inaccessible. Still protected by whatever mechanism my brain had used to shield me. I asked Diane if she thought I should try to remember. Try to recover the blocked memories. She said Dr. Chen always said no. Said it was better to let you not remember. Better to let you live without that burden. But maybe he was wrong. Maybe you need to remember to fully heal. Maybe the secrets and lies have been worse than the truth would have been. I decided to work with Dr. Martinez on this. To try to recover the blocked memories. To understand what really happened. To face the trauma instead of hiding from it. Even if it was painful. Even if it was difficult. I needed to know. Needed to remember. Needed to be whole instead of living with gaps in my memory. Over the next few months, I worked with Dr. Martinez. She used various techniques. EMDR, trauma-focused therapy, gentle exploration of the blocked period. Slowly, carefully, memories started to surface. Fragments at first, then more complete pictures. Eventually, I remembered. Marcus had been a co-worker, older man, close to retirement. We'd worked together for years, were friendly. Not close friends, but cordial colleagues. That day in 2009, he'd been sorting mail, had suddenly clutched his chest, had fallen. I'd rushed over, had tried to help, had done CPR like I'd been trained, had kept trying even when I could tell it wasn't working, had kept trying until the paramedics arrived. They'd taken over, had worked on him, but he was already gone. Heart attack, massive, nothing anyone could have done. I remembered being covered in sweat, hands shaking, feeling like I'd failed. Like I should have been able to save him. The paramedics said I'd done everything right, that it wouldn't have mattered, that Marcus was probably dead before he hit the floor. But I couldn't shake the feeling of responsibility, of having someone die while I was trying to help them. I remembered the nightmares, waking up gasping, seeing Marcus's face, feeling his chest under my hands as I did compressions, hearing the terrible sounds. The memory of death was visceral, overwhelming. I couldn't escape it, couldn't stop reliving it. It consumed me. That's when Diane had taken me to Dr. Chen. I remembered now, being in his office, him asking questions, me insisting I was fine, that I didn't need help, that I just needed to tough it out, that I wasn't weak, wasn't someone who needed medication or therapy. I'd been resistant, defensive, in denial about how much I was struggling. I remembered Dr. Chen being gentle but firm, saying I needed help, that what I'd experienced was traumatic, that I couldn't just tough it out, that medication could help. I remembered refusing, saying I didn't want psychiatric medication, didn't want to be labeled as mentally ill, didn't want to be someone who couldn't handle stress. That's when they'd come up with the plan. The lie about blood pressure, a physical condition I could accept, medication I'd take without feeling stigmatized, a way to help me while avoiding my resistance to psychiatric treatment. Remembering all this was painful, but also clarifying. I understood now why they'd lied. Why they'd thought it was necessary. I'd been in crisis, in denial, refusing help I desperately needed. They'd found a way to help me despite my resistance. Had it been right? I still wasn't sure, but I understood their reasoning. The memories of Marcus's death were hard, brought back grief and guilt and trauma, but Dr. Martinez helped me process them, helped me understand that I hadn't failed Marcus, that I'd done everything I could, that sometimes people die despite our best efforts, that witnessing death is traumatic even when you're not responsible for it. She helped me understand that my PTSD had been real, had required treatment, that the haloperidol had helped me function while I was healing, that maybe I had needed it at the time, but that I'd healed, had processed the trauma as much as my mind could at the time, had moved forward, and that now, 15 years later, I didn't need the medication anymore, was stable without it, had recovered. I confronted Dr. Chen about the lies, about the fake diagnosis, about keeping me on medication for 15 years under false pretenses. He apologized, said he'd been trying to help, that at the time, lying seemed like the only way to get me the treatment I needed, but that he should have worked harder to get me to accept the truth, should have transitioned me off medication years ago, should have been honest instead of maintaining the lie indefinitely. I considered filing a complaint, but ultimately decided against it. Dr. Chen had been trying to help, even if his methods were questionable. The medication had helped at the time, and I'd been the one resistant to truth, resistant to accepting that I needed psychiatric treatment. In some ways, I'd forced their hand by refusing to accept reality. But I did make one demand. I demanded that Dr. Chen review his other patients, look for anyone else he might have misdiagnosed or kept on unnecessary medication. Make sure I wasn't the only one. Make sure his pattern of questionable practices wasn't hurting other people. He agreed, said he'd do a comprehensive review of his prescribing practices, make sure he was providing appropriate care. My daughters apologized for their part in the lie, said they'd been following Mom's lead, trusting Dr. Chen's judgment. They'd thought they were helping protect me, didn't realize they were contributing to a deception that had gone on far too long. We worked through it, rebuilt trust, moved forward as a family. Diane and I had harder work to do, rebuilding trust after 15 years of lies. She genuinely thought she was protecting me, thought the lie was necessary, thought honesty would hurt me more than deception. But her willingness to lie to me for 15 years, to maintain such an elaborate deception, had damaged our relationship, had shown me she was capable of prioritizing what she thought was best over what I had a right to know. We went to couples therapy, worked through the betrayal, the loss of trust, the anger I felt at being lied to, the guilt she felt about lying. Slowly, we found our way back to each other, based on honesty this time, based on commitment to truth even when truth was uncomfortable, based on respecting my right to know reality even if reality was painful. I'm 68 years old now, living in Toledo, retired, married to Diane for 45 years, father to Linda and Carol, grandfather to 5 grandchildren, living what looks like an ordinary life. But I know now that ordinary life can hide extraordinary deceptions, that the people closest to you can lie with good intentions, that psychiatric medication can be given under false pretenses, that your own memory can be unreliable, that reality can be more complicated than it appears. I don't take haloperidol anymore, haven't for months. I'm stable, healthy, mentally clear. The trauma from Marcus's death is integrated, processed, no longer haunting me. I healed years ago, I think, but was kept on medication out of caution, out of fear of what might happen if I stopped, out of habit. The prescription bottle sits in my medicine cabinet, empty now, reminder of 15 years of deception, 15 years of taking medication I didn't fully understand, 15 years of living in a carefully constructed reality that wasn't quite true. But I also understand why it happened, why Diane and Dr. Chen thought lying was necessary. I'd been resistant to truth, resistant to accepting I needed help, resistant to admitting trauma had affected me. They'd found a way to help me despite my resistance. Had it been right? I'm still not entirely sure. But I understand it. The lesson I've learned is about truth, about honesty, about the importance of reality even when reality is painful. Lies, even well-intentioned ones, cause damage, create confusion, undermine trust, make healing harder in the long run. If I'd been told the truth in 2009, I would have resisted, would have refused treatment, would have struggled, but eventually I might have accepted it, might have done the work, might have healed while knowing what I was healing from. Instead, I healed while living in fiction, while believing I had high blood pressure instead of PTSD, while taking medication without understanding why I needed it. I healed, yes, but at the cost of truth, at the cost of self-understanding, at the cost of 15 years of living in carefully maintained deception. Now I live in truth, reality, understanding. It's harder in some ways, more complicated, more painful, but it's real. And real is what I needed, what I've always needed, what everyone needs. The prescription bottle is empty, the lies are exposed, the truth is known, and I'm free, free from deception, free from unnecessary medication, free to live in reality, free to be whole. Did you like my story? Which city are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. There's so much more on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next story with love and respect.